Good morning. So we are going to dive into the art form of improvisation in the next 57 minutes. Not with the goal to teach you how to improvise, not with the goal to teach you how to be funny, but kind of in a liberal arts learning model, we're going to take a look at this art form and ask, what do these folks do? What cultural norms do they have? What skill sets do they embody? What policies and rules do they follow to be able to listen to their customers, work together, come up with a lot of ideas, and refine them very, very quickly in order to provide an innovative product in a matter of 2 to 3 minutes off the top of their heads. And so we'll look at that art form and say, what can we do to extrapolate that? I say that with full disclosure. I know a little bit about improv. I know a little bit about dairy farming. I grew up on a dairy farm in Wisconsin. I certainly wouldn't consider myself a CIO-based innovation guru, okay? We know a lot about human behavior, okay? Here's how it usually looks when we're engaged with one of your companies. Someone at the top level, perhaps you or a CEO, CFO, read a business article or went to a cocktail party in which it was declared that innovation is the single most important strategy that we need to embody. Then it shows up in their next PowerPoint presentation, usually as the top of a pyramid or a pillar, which always makes me wonder, do we really have strategy or do we simply just get what clip art gives us from PowerPoint? And what is the chicken or the egg? And so then we usually pay an outside firm to define the word innovation for our organization. Then we create an idea collection portal and systems, which are usually coinciding with software. Then we spread it enterprise-wide. Then someone needs to metric its value. So we try to put a ROI on our innovation program. We realize it's rather soft, so we can't justify it. Somebody gets fired and they call us. Because what usually happens in that process is that we forgot about one little part of the organization, and that's the human beings who have to begin to act differently for the innovation culture to change. And so today, all I know is that some of the things we do as improvisers and some of the things that we do to practice being innovative on stage have proven to add value to the workplace, and I'd like to share those with you. So one of the skills is that we're very declarative in our communication. We have to figure out on our team who we are, where we are, what role we'll play, how we'll add value, and what the strategy of the scene will be in the first 3 to 7 seconds of that scene. So a good improv team, 4 or 5 people, you'll see in that first maybe 10 seconds that all of us will have communicated with ourselves and our customers who we are, where we are, what we're trying to accomplish, what role we'll play, and how we'll get it done. So I'll declare my point of view to you as my scene partners for this very moment. First point of view, gratitude. We have valued customers in this audience, and some of you will ask us to come to your company today and pay us money. So I'm grateful for the business. We really appreciate it. We take the money that you give us and share it with the 32 employees of our theater. These are some of the most wonderful people you'll ever meet, and they will take that money and use it for things like childcare, education, and mortgages. So we really, really appreciate the business. Gratitude as a human being. As I mentioned, I'm from Wisconsin, which made me pretty happy on Sunday for all you Cowboy fans. Thank you. Yeah, I toured the stadium yesterday. It's a great stadium, but we still won on Sunday, so that's cool. But I am pretty grateful to be here because, you see, the first half of my life was spent on a dairy farm. So today I woke up in a nice hotel room with free Starbucks coffee and said to myself, you know what, Sweeney? Life's pretty good because today you're not going to milk a cow, not one single time. You're not going to shovel manure, not one single time. So I'm grateful just to be in this room. Second point of view, humility. I could not do any of your jobs. I'm the reason the bell curve worked. Okay, folks? I went to a small Catholic college, which means I couldn't get into Notre Dame, and if Dad gave enough money, they would hand you a diploma. All right? So I'm not here to tell you a lot. I would like to share some things about this art form that I genuinely think can help you as human beings and help you as leaders. And then third point of view is energy. I have a lot of it. I've had 6 or 7 pots of coffee and 3 Ritalin, and I'm ready to go. All right? And you'll see that part of our innovation program is simply bringing a little bit more energy and passion and humanity to our daily and minute-by-minute behavior. And we learn that as performers. If you come to our theater and we take the same set of staff, the same set of circumstances, the same set of everything on stage, and all of us give it a 5 out of 10, you will give us some nice, polite golf claps. If we take exactly the same set of circumstances and human beings and all give it a 10 out of 10, all care a little bit more, all throw a little bit more energy at it, you will give us a standing ovation. The only thing that has changed in that equation is the energy that we've put forth towards our jobs. And so I hope today that you will try to match in your own style the energy, because my job is to engage this audience, and I will give it everything I have for the next 52 minutes, all right? So, humility, gratitude, and energy. Lots of different ways of looking at innovation, and specifically, how do we continue to stay innovative in an economy that has us firing people? How do we stay innovative in an economy that has us reducing our big idea and putting most of our efforts on refinement and reducing expenses? There's lots of views. Ours is one, and it's mostly about behavior. We'll share a fun little video with you to show you that there are certainly more than our view, and that we respect all of them.
Get ready, meeting planners. It's time for everyone's favorite game show, Pick Your Speaker. Now, please welcome your host, Chip Winkingdale.
Heyo, 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 everyone, and welcome to Pick Your Speaker. Let's meet our talkers. First up, his books, Positively Positive Attitudes for Winners and How to Make Every Day Fabulous, are bestsellers and are guaranteed to change your life. Please put your hands together for Scooter Collins. Next up, he's got 18 degrees from Harvard, loves Sudoku puzzles, and is the author of Innovation Metrics and Best Practices Explained with Algorithms. Please welcome Dr. Frank Imaretska. And finally, he's a former dairy farmer, turned real estate executive, turned owner of the nation's oldest comedy theater, the Brave New Workshop in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Please welcome author, improviser, and professional speaker, Mr. John Sweeney. Now let's meet our meeting planner and speaker picker today, Miss Katie Pepper.
I am so nervous.
Don't ever touch me.
Sorry.
Katie was in our cone of silence and so is unaware of the identities of our speakers. To her, they are simply speakers 1, 2, and 3. Katie, it's time for your first question. Fire!
Speaker number 2, I want the attendees of my meeting to walk away better able to handle change. How will you do that?
Well, thanks for the question, Katie. I hope this doesn't sound too aloof, but I've written 3 books and 17 white papers on this subject, and I really don't think you or your audience would be able to understand.
You seem fun. Speaker 1?
I improve change management through the use of fabulous mouse costumes and lots of delicious cheeses. Feel the power of the cheese, people. It's working. Woo-hoo! Jesus, look at me. I'm a mouse. I'm a mouse.
Speaker number 3, how will you improve my attendees' ability to handle change?
So change is a tough one. I mean, we know that change usually means more work. It means more risk. It means dealing with a situation that you don't have a lot of information about. And we try to respect that. We acknowledge that not everyone's comfortable or confident with change. And then we take what we know as improvisers to demonstrate that there's another way to look at change. We look at it as fuel. You see, we know that we need change to find the next great idea. So we look at it positively. It can produce some great new insights that we could have never gained if things would have stayed the same. Also, we pretend that we're mice.
Really?
No.
So lots of people have asked us, are we specifically making fun of the book, Who Moved My Cheese? And we just want to make sure you know we are, absolutely. So, we get applause for that. Great. So in general, to get to know us and how we approach change, my wife and I own this theater, right? The nation's oldest comedy theater. If you've ever seen the show Saturday Night Live, you know our theater because it was based on the Brave New Workshop. Our first 2 head writers were Al Franken and Tom Davis. They were taken off our stage to start that show. And so you can come to us and be mildly and irreverently offended by our comedy, which we hope that we do. We've had about 4.5 million Minnesotans come through our door. We also have a school where adults like you come and take a 1.5-year-long curriculum to learn this art form and take it back to work. And then I spend all of my days out on the road taking what we know about improvisation to the workplace. So innovation 3 years ago meant something different than it did today. And so as the economy started changing, we wanted to make sure that we were aligned with what our clients needed and perhaps to make sure that we still had something of value about our art form to bring. So we asked some people, there's our slide, we'll skip that. We asked some people, what is it like out there? Just tell us, clients, what does it feel like to be in the cubicles? What does it feel like to be in the boardrooms? And in general, very distilled version, this is what we heard. Perhaps familiar, depending on your organization, perhaps not familiar. And so we said, okay, so that's what it's like to be in that environment and still being asked to be innovative and creative and productive. So how does that compare to what it's like to be in an environment in an improv scene? Because after all, that's all we know, and we wanted to stay authentic to what we know. So that's what it seemed to look like out there right now in the workplace, which is almost identical to every improv scene we've ever done. We absolutely have no idea what's going to happen next. We have no script. Our leadership model is follow the follower. We have no props, we have no costumes, we have no technology, we have no budget. We have our point of view and our team and our customers. And from nothing, we create something wonderful right away. And so we believe, wow, perhaps maybe more than ever, something about this improvisational art form can help folks in the workplace. So then we asked, well, if that's what the environment's like, what do you see the people that you're leading? What are the attitudes that are perhaps a reaction to this workplace? And this is the distilled version of our survey there. We heard lots of great stories too. Perhaps this paints a pretty gloomy picture. Lots of kind of teams coming together. Lots of people really, really kind of finding their greatest assets and bringing that. Lots of loyalty. My mother and father are 83, and my dad says that in some ways this economy will really help us all. Help us realize how important our customers are. Help us realize how important working hard is. That sort of thing. So we asked ourselves, well, if that's the attitudes that are in response to the culture out there, what attitudes do we have as improvisers when we're put in the same situation? And it's a little bit different. I don't want to be trite about this. Part of our product is imperfection, much different than yours. Our customers expect some imperfection. When we bring things to market in 2 to 3 minutes, they give us a break because of the speed at which we produce. And so there's not nearly as much risk in our world as there is in the real world. But there is some risk on us as human beings, emotional risk. When someone pays $25 to come to my theater and I stand before them and begin an improv scene, and they're judging how funny it's going to be based on what they saw on TV, based on the 52-year history of our theater, there's some pressure out there. And from a very personal standpoint, excuse me, when you've got an audience that's not responding, and you've got nothing up here, and you've got nothing to rely on, it's nerve-wracking. I hear individual heartbeats in the back row. I hear my father screaming, "Why didn't you stay in real estate? You were making big money, you idiot." All right? There's some pressure. Different pressure, but some pressure. And so these are the things that we embrace to be able to get it done fast, get it done well, and get it done according to what our customers need. And we think that some of them can be translated. These are the 8 basic behaviors or secrets of a good improv scene. These are the things that we have to embody, and we wrote a book about them. But in general, at the beginning of our process, we are very open to lots of possibilities. Because we're kind of doing scene after scene after scene, we never go back into the rut of we've always done it this way. The art form just won't allow us. Our customers won't allow us. We have very loyal customers. If they come week after week and see you play the same character or have the scene be about the same thing, they just will go somewhere else. It has to be mildly disruptive, and lots of innovation and unexpected things have to happen in our product to keep our customers interested. We declare our point of view. We accept lots of points of views. We have an internal reward system on stage to make sure that people feel safe contributing, safe being their best selves. And number 7 is really our biggest jargon term. We live our lives by those 2 words. We say yes and to people's ideas. And so yes and is the conjunction that we also use on stage to build the scene. If someone comes forth as a teammate with their idea and I say yes and, it is impossible for me to be in argument. It is impossible for me to critique their idea because we don't have time for that in our world. In our world, I have to say, yes, I heard you, and I'd like to build on that. And what happens is that yes and kind of, Moore's theory of doubling, just bop, 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 bop. Next thing you know, we've got a good scene on our hands. But if we stop the scene by saying no, but, you'll all go away because it's not fun to watch people argue on stage. And we don't think in the workplace it's fun or productive to have mostly critique and no but. So yes and kind of gets us to the next place. And then kind of the focus of today, we just look at change a little bit differently. Again, don't want to be trite about that. We need change in our world to keep the customers engaged. For the first time since I've been at the theater a couple months ago, I noticed in our midnight Saturday improv sets, the college kids come to that. And I look out and there's 200 college kids. We had to change the lighting of the theater in the house because of how many of them are texting or tweeting while they're watching live improv, while they have their headphones in. That's the ADHD that's out there right now. So to just give them really, really funny stuff isn't enough. To give them really funny stuff while they're listening to a song isn't enough. We also have to allow them to text while they're doing those two things. And the reason we had to change the lights is there's 200 seats in our theater, and if 100 of them start tweeting, it changes the light of the room. Like, because you look out and there's 100 faces with this glow in front of them from their handhelds. And it's that bad. And so you can imagine the level of change we have to have in our product. And I'm getting old. I'm 44. I remember my first movie. It was with my grandparents. Dr. Zhivago was the movie we went to in Chicago. It's about a 7 or 8 hour film. Really got moving in that 4th hour. Not so much these days. You got about 10 or 15 seconds to really grab them. And if you don't, they'll just go away. So the change thing's important to us. So what we're going to do today, because we only have an hour and this is usually a 3-hour session, is we're going to practice a lot. Okay? I've had an odd little life. Did pretty competitive college football. Then I did 8 years in the business world, and now I'm in the arts. And here's something that I'll challenge you with a little bit as leaders. I've realized that in athletics and in art, we practice our skill set almost all the time. And once in a while, we execute. Once in a while, we bring it to market. Show up in July, first game wasn't until end of August. 5 3-hour practices a week for 1 game on Saturday. You come to our theater tonight, they'll warm up their bodies for a half hour, their minds for a half hour, their voices for a half hour before they begin a 3-hour rehearsal for this weekend's show. And then there's our world. We wake up, we drink coffee, we execute, we execute, we execute. Now our customers, our teammates, our bosses, our competition ask us to increase our productivity and our skill set every single quarter. And yet how much time do we dedicate to practicing those skill sets? So I show up for college football as a linebacker, right? Apparently they didn't realize how short and slow I was. Thought they would have done a little bit more research. So in the first day of practice, I'm not going to be able to compete with the rest of the linebackers on the team. So they say, well, we'd like you to be a nose tackle, which meant I had to gain 60 pounds in 3 months, which I did. I had to learn a completely new set of skills. I had played linebacker since 3rd grade, okay? To the point of the skill set development that they would videotape my arm because they wanted me to be really good at one thing, and that was this, right up into the throat of the center every single time they snapped the ball. Just break his Adam's apple, okay? And I got really, really good at that move. They educated me on how these muscles work with each other. They would videotape that move and break it down to make sure the angle was perfect. I spent probably 1,000 hours of my life refining that move. And yet you're going to go back and ask thousands of people to be more innovative. And so today, at least we've got the chance to practice some of those. And we're going to do some exercises. Not everyone will be able to do the exercises. But even the ability to practice contemplating what innovative behavior is a gift that we all have today. So let's embrace that. So we're going to do some exercises. They're all volunteer. They only take 5 to 10 people, so not everyone could do them. I'll challenge you a bit. Not everyone in this room is really, really pumped to do an improv exercise in front of their peers. I would guess that. There are some people in the room that are saying, wow, I should have scheduled that root canal for today. It would be more fun than doing an improv exercise, okay? And yet, when you go back to the office, you're going to challenge the folks that you lead to be engaged, to stretch themselves, to go outside their comfort zone. And at minimum, if you participate today, you'll have some more empathy to understand why they won't want to do that automatically for you. At a maximum, you'll share some experiences that will give you some insights that I think can help you be a better leader, okay? And so I throw that challenge out. If you don't want to, that's cool. You can learn something by not participating also. You'll have a different view. But I ask you to take that stretch. I promise you as facilitator, I won't put you in any risk. No one will be made embarrassed. It just doesn't work. Our goal is to create a culture that's similar to the one on stage, where we all make each other feel safe and strong and confident being our best selves. So it doesn't work to kind of make fun of someone and then say, hey, by the way, go ahead and be innovative in front of a bunch of peer groups, okay? It's, you know, I'm Irish Catholic. The shame stuff just doesn't cut it anymore. So we'll do some simple exercises, but can I have an agreement that we'll stretch ourselves and most importantly, that we'll give some applause to those who are courageous enough to come up and volunteer? Can I have a head shake on that? Sweet. The first one's the easiest one we do, and it's the only one we're going to do fully clothed, so I don't know how you feel about that. Why don't we bring the house lights up, and we'll make this feel more a little bit like a workshop. And so for the first one, why don't we have 6 people join us on stage? Give them a round of applause, 6 people. It's just a pattern called zip, zap, zop. Okay, so I'm going to say the word zip. I'm going to go like this to you. Go zip, and then you're going to say zap. And you're going to throw it to someone else, and they're going to say zop. We're going to keep passing that around, okay? We'll do it well first, and then we'll see how fast we can go, okay? Zip. And we'll go like this. Zip. Zop. Zop. Zap. Zop. Zip. Zap. Zap. Okay, give them a round of applause. We're going to do it a couple more times. So one of our innovation behaviors is that we're really, really good at dealing with things that come at us in an unexpected way very quickly. Okay? Part of that is we stay engaged with the group. We're always watching. So watch it go from one person to the next, so you're never caught off guard. Assume that everyone sometimes throws you one. Every time someone throws one, they're going to throw it at you. It's a great leadership skill. Open door policy, whatever it is. But assume that when someone needs you, it could be every single time. Okay? Then let's look at this system. You guys kind of got a problem over here because of the sight lines. You know, when Vivian throws one, so why don't we move down here? Please be careful. And we just want to create a system that when we throw a piece of communication to someone, it's just a little bit more clear. That's great. Perfect. Widen it out. Okay? Deliberate is better. Zip. That sucks, doesn't it? Yeah. So look the person in the eye and then send it to them. You'll see that that small bit of kind of definitive, declarative communication as we get really, really fast is going to be important. So we need to be unbelievably clear if we're going to be unbelievably fast. And in our innovation model, we have to be very, very fast. Okay? So we'll start slow, and we'll find that speed, quality, access as a group. That'll kind of make it feel like it's our own. Ready? Zip. Zip. Zap. Zip. Zap. Zop. Zap. Zop. Zap. Zop. You got it? Zap. Zap. Zip. Zap. Zip. Okay, give him another round of applause. So this happens about 80% of the time. I introduce the correct pattern, whatever the hell that means, as zip, zap, zop. And then we ask a team to work really, really fast. And we have some flaws. We accidentally say zip, zip, zap, zop, or zip, zoop, zap, zop, or zip, zippity, zippity, zap, zap. And what we do as humans who are used to evaluating, critiquing, and fixing is we spend a lot of our time recognizing that we went out of order. For this game, who gives a crap? I could have said loop, leap, lop, okay? So let's take that out of there, and let's not have zip, zap, zop. Let's just make a noise. The goal is to try to work well and then quickly. But can you see how we immediately go to we're doing it wrong? We just critiqued a made-up improv game. Okay? Because that's what we do. And do we have to critique things to refine? Absolutely. 99.9% of the time, it's absolutely the appropriate behavior. But as improvisers, we learn that once in a while, it's better just to say, you know what? Let's just get back to working. We don't need to analyze, strategize, and crucify. We'll just figure it out. Okay? Woo! Da! Go! 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 Hey! Now let's go back to zip, zap, zop. Zip. 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 Zap. 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 Okay, we'll freeze right there. What if I told you that the market and our leadership team says that we can do the exact same thing 3 times as fast with a less flaw rate? Okay? Because that's the truth. We can. Might take us a couple of minutes to practice, but let's go for it. Intensity in listening, send clear messages. Let's not worry about correct or incorrect. Let's worry about, let's just get it done. Okay? In this small, ridiculous improv game. Whew. Zip. Zop. Zip. Zip. Zop. Zop. Zap. Zap. Zop. Zop. All right, give him a round of applause. Go ahead and have a seat. Thank you so much. So lots of different leadership models. One of my favorites is leaders are people who do things before they know exactly how it will turn out and before others take that risk. So a round of applause for the leaders. Wonderful. So this next one is a game that we play that I think you'll like because it's about multitasking and patterns at the same time. So for this, I need 5 people. Click clapping. I am personally grateful that we have a 3 out of 5 female delegation because women do this exercise almost 10 times better than men. We'll make kind of a semicircle as deep as we can. Please watch the back of the stage. And if you can come kind of there, we want to see each other a little bit. We're going to create a couple patterns, okay? When I point to you, please say a type of car, okay?
Mustang. Chevy. Porsche.
Sorry. When I point to you, you ready?
Mustang. Chevy. Range Rover. Mercedes.
Okay, same car, same pattern.
Mustang. Chevy. Range Rover. Mercedes.
Okay, now a little bit louder because we got everyone hear it.
Mustang. Chevy. Range Rover. Mercedes.
Keep going.
Mustang. Chevy. Porsche. Range Rover. Mercedes. 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 Mustang. Chevy. Porsche. Range Rover. Mercedes.
Okay, we're going to do it again. Same pattern, same words. Let's slow it down to put some space in between. You'll see why in a couple minutes. And then let's focus on, now that we kind of remember our word, let's focus on actually not speaking as much, but listening a little bit more. And what we want to listen for, I'm coaching you for about what you're going to have to accomplish, is the word before you, the car before you, as your prompter car. So when I hear that car before me, I want to have almost a voluntary response to say my car. So focus on the car before you, and we'll keep the pattern a little bit slower.
Mustang. Chevy. Porsche. Range Rover. Mercedes. 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 Mustang. Chevy. Porsche. Range Rover. Mercedes.
Okay, so put that in a safe place and try to keep it this simple. When I hear the car before me, I say my car. Because I'm about to make your lives a little bit more complicated, okay? When I hear the car before me, I say my car. Next, when I point to you, I'd like to say a fruit, please.
Banana. Orange. Blackberry. Strawberry.
Same fruit, same pattern, please.
Banana. Orange. Blackberry. Strawberry.
Keep going.
Apple. Banana. Orange. Blackberry. Strawberry. 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 Apple. Banana. Orange.
Okay, we'll slow it down a little bit and just try to focus on the fruit before you. When you hear that word, it prompts you to say your fruit.
Apple. Banana. Orange. Blackberry. Strawberry. Apple. Banana. Orange. Blackberry. Strawberry. Apple. Banana. Orange. Blackberry. Strawberry.
Okay, so here's what's going to happen. We'll start that car pattern. Once we establish that, I'll cue Jennifer. She'll start the fruit pattern. We won't stop the car pattern. It's just this. Okay? Slower is better. And what you'll want to do, at least what the 2,000 groups that we've done this with wanted to do, is you'll want to make this more complicated than it ought to be. please focus on two things. When I hear the car before me, I say my car. When I hear the fruit before me, I say my fruit. Now, because they're two random patterns, we will never, ever, ever be able to predict their speed or relativity to each other. So that means sometimes you'll have to say your car and your fruit very close together. Sometimes there'll be a larger space. Please don't try to figure out the system. And I know sometimes figuring out symptoms would be one of your skill sets. So let that go, and just, when I hear that car before me, I say my car. When I hear that fruit before me, I say my fruit. And we'll start with cars.
Mustang. Chevy. Porsche. Range Rover. Mercedes. Mustang. Chevy. Porsche. Range Rover. Mercedes. Mustang. Chevy. Porsche. Range Rover. Mercedes. Mustang. Chevy. Porsche. Range Rover. Apple. Banana. Mercedes. Apple. Mustang. Blackberry. No, I want apple. Strawberry.
All right, we'll start it again. And I didn't start in a very nice place for you, Sheila, so I'll try to do it a little bit differently. Okay, start the cars again.
Mustang. Chevy. Range Rover. Mercedes. Mustang. Chevy. Porsche. Range Rover. Mercedes. Apple. Banana. Orange. Blackberry. Strawberry. Apple. Banana. Orange. Blackberry. Strawberry. Mustang.
Okay, so pretty good. It happens about 90% of the time. We start one pattern, and then someone asks us to do the other pattern, and we drop this. Okay, so remember, we're going to do them both. Couple hints. Okay, here's what gets in my way. Three things really. One is, I think that what I was asked to do is to memorize and understand both patterns, their relationships to each other, the global view, and then and only then understand my individual role within that system. I'm a kid from Wisconsin, that's way too much. Okay? What we've asked you to do is only two things. Whenever and every time the car before you is said, and only that time, please say your car. And every time and only when your fruit before you is said, please say that fruit. If you keep it that simple, you'll be more successful. Second thing that gets in my way on this is that I tend to put on my judgment hat. So I'm the guy who can tell you every single time who's supposed to be saying apple. And I'm wondering, wow, they make a lot of money and they can't remember to say apple. Holy cats, why aren't they saying apple? I'm going to punch him if he doesn't say apple. And guess what time it is at that point in my life? It's time for me to say Ford, but I'm spending so much time judging my teammates that I'm actually messing with the group by not doing my job. So your team will be imperfect unless we all do our individual parts, okay? And then the third thing you might guess is I get a little distracted. I'll be like, plum, Chevy, plum, Chevy. If you follow this green line, follow the yellow green road, follow the yellow brick road. What? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm still engaged with my team and I just checked out. So sometimes we close our eyes, slowing it down. Remember that there's a person relying on you. So please say your word loud, okay? Start with cars.
Mustang. Chevy. Porsche. Range Rover. Mercedes. Mustang. Chevy. Porsche. Range Rover. Mercedes. Mustang. Chevy. Porsche. Range Rover. Mercedes. Mustang. Chevy. Banana. Orange. Blackberry. Strawberry. Mercedes. Mustang. Chevy. Porsche. Range Rover. Mercedes. Mustang. Chevy. Porsche. Range Rover. Mercedes. Mustang. Chevy. Range Rover. Mercedes. Mustang. Chevy. Range Rover. Mercedes. Banana. Orange. Blackberry. Strawberry. Apple. Banana. Orange. Blackberry. Strawberry.
Okay, so I'll give you a hint. One of the things we do in our innovation program in our culture is we took the word critique out. Critique comes from to rip or tear, and it usually does, especially when you're talking to actors. So we make observations, okay? To a T, all of us in the last 3 minutes of our lives spent time figuring out what was wrong with the big picture and judging others. In this game, it's moving too fast. You don't have the luxury of doing that. Stop worrying about everybody else. Stop worrying about where fruit went, where cars went. Because what we've done is we have failed very equally. We might not have recognized that, but they do. Even in 3 minutes, you've all failed wonderfully equally. So let's just simple it down. When I hear the car before me, I say my car. When I hear the fruit before me, I say my fruit. I'll give you a hint. If we drop one of them, I'll either prompt Tom or Jennifer to start it again, and we'll just start it again, okay? Slower is better. Okay, cars, please, Tom.
Mustang.
Chevy.
Porsche. Range Rover.
Mercedes.
Mustang.
Chevy.
Range Rover.
Mercedes.
Mustang.
Banana.
Chevy.
Orange.
Range
Blackberry.
Mercedes.
Mustang.
Chevy.
Porsche. Range Rover.
Mercedes.
Mustang.
Chevy.
Porsche. Range Rover.
Mercedes.
Mustang.
Chevy.
Porsche. Range Rover.
Mercedes.
Mustang.
Apple.
Banana. Chevy.
Orange.
Blackberry.
Strawberry. Apple.
Banana.
Orange.
Blackberry.
Strawberry. Apple.
Banana.
Orange.
Blackberry.
Strawberry. Apple.
Mustang.
Banana. Chevy.
Porsche. Range Rover.
Blackberry. Mercedes.
Mustang.
Chevy.
Range Rover.
Mercedes.
Mustang.
Chevy.
Range Rover.
Mercedes.
Mustang.
Okay, I'll give you another hint. This is a really difficult thing to do, by the way, and they're doing pretty good. They're doing pretty good. Please now, just in your own mind, ask yourself and recall who is the person who says the fruit before you. Know where they are. Try to remember their voice. Now let's do the same thing. Who is the person who's the car before you? Their voice and where they are. Okay? Every time we drop one, that means that someone, because we're all sitting here going, 100 people heard the fruit, and she's standing right next to you. Okay? But they're not on stage. They're not in this extra pressure. And part of the lessons that we do here is when you ask someone to innovate and then at the same time put pressure of time and budget and status, it's a tough thing. You guys do a million things at once at work. We're asking you to separate and do two things, and it's tough. It's really, really tough. Slower, and just remember to say your word loudly because the person next to after you really, really needs it. Cars.
Mustang.
Chevy.
Porsche. Range Rover.
Mercedes.
Mustang.
Chevy.
Porsche. Range Rover.
Mercedes.
Mustang.
Chevy.
Porsche. Range Rover.
Mercedes.
Mustang.
Banana. Chevy.
Orange.
Blackberry.
Range Rover.
Mercedes.
Mustang.
Chevy. Banana.
Range Rover.
Orange.
Mercedes.
Strawberry.
Blackberry.
Mustang.
Chevy.
Apple.
Banana.
Orange.
Blackberry.
Strawberry.
Mercedes.
Mustang.
Chevy. Banana.
Orange.
Blackberry.
Strawberry. Apple.
Banana.
Porsche.
Orange.
Range Rover.
Mercedes.
Mustang.
Apple.
Chevy.
Banana. Porsche.
Orange.
Range Rover.
Mercedes.
Strawberry.
Mustang.
Chevy.
Porsche. Range Rover.
Mercedes.
Apple.
Banana.
Mustang.
Chevy. Blackberry.
Strawberry. Apple.
Banana.
Orange.
Blackberry.
Strawberry. Porsche. Range Rover.
Mercedes. Banana.
Orange.
Blackberry.
Strawberry.
Mustang.
Chevy.
Porsche. Range Rover.
Mercedes. Banana.
Orange. Mustang.
Blackberry.
Strawberry.
Chevy.
Apple.
Banana.
Porsche. Range Rover.
Mercedes.
Strawberry.
Mustang.
Chevy.
Range Rover.
Great job. They had it for a while. Really, really good. Go ahead and have a seat. Really good. So it's tough. Part of what we acknowledge as performers is that perhaps what gets in the way of innovation is distraction. Lots of other stuff. And so as performers, we have to be able to deal with our customers, the other four people on stage, the somewhat vaguely stated mission statement of the scene, the environment, which doesn't exist because it's all just a clear stage, while we're trying to get it done. And so you have this kind of duality where you are taking it all in, but you are also very well at focusing on the specific thing that needs to happen at that given moment. And sometimes what I see is when we go really broad with innovation, we set great, huge, global enterprise-wide goals that we forget about, so what do I do in the next minute of my life? How do I behave at the next meeting? What is the next interaction with a human being I'm going to have? And that's just very real for us as improvisers. Does anyone who want to do that last one just kind of share what that was like? Because you guys did pretty well, but it's a struggle, isn't it? Go ahead and just share something. I'll repeat it. Mm-hmm. Right, wonderfully. She said you really have to listen and don't be kind of projecting on what you have to say in the future because you have to be there and listening to what your prompter word is. And boy, that's sometimes a tough one as leaders because we're constantly being asked the question, what's next? What are we supposed to do? What's the plan? A lot of times we spend our lives delivering that plan. And so this game helps us to be in the moment when we can. One more. Go ahead and share. Someone else. Very, very insightful. We start listening for patterns, and then when the pattern gets broken or isn't reliable or just organically changes because of restaffing, new technology, economy, competitive differences, whatever it is, it's tough. It throws us. We spend our lives as improvisers acknowledging that it's not necessarily a piece of human nature to be walking one way and then have your world completely change the next moment. We acknowledge that that doesn't always and hardly ever feels great. But what we do is we spend our lives developing almost athletic skills to when that does happen, which in our world is every couple of seconds, we maximize that change. We are nimble enough. We are responsive enough. We are in a position of clarity and of listening with our mission statement behind us, because the scene has to be about something, to be able to make the most of that. Because in our world, we've never figured out a way not to have that change happen. And when it does, it's called scripted material, and that's not what we're in the business. One last one, and we need exactly 6 people for this next one. Come on up. So this is a game that we play to really focus on this yes and, okay? We are storytellers by nature as performers. And a lot of times we have to tell a story as a team without having a script. That's an odd place, especially when they paid $25 to hear the story. And so we develop these skills of, if we don't have all the information we need, how do we continue to forward this story? How do we continue to build something that doesn't exist right now? And what we realize is that it can't be data, it has to be behavior. And the core of that behavior is the phrase, yes and. So what we're going to do is we're going to tell 3 different stories to you. Okay? A couple of rules for the stories. You were there, you were there, you were there, you were there together. So you don't have to worry about the accuracy of the story. We believe you. It's a made-up story, kind of like Zip Zap Zop. So there can't be a wrong version. Okay? Some things that will help you tell a good story. Let's keep it positive. We've got enough negative stuff going on in our world, and we'd rather hear a positive story. And then let's keep it forward-moving. When you say yes, that means I heard you. When you say and, you're saying, and then this happened, and then this happened. What we'll tend to want to do as human beings is either comment or perhaps argue with what our partner just said, and then maybe take the story in the direction that we want to go. So let's make a little philosophical switch. We talked about it a little bit in the leadership stuff earlier today. What if your goal was to serve the story instead of serving yourself? What if you realized that even if the story was going someplace that didn't make sense to you, you were simply going to yes and it and continue moving it? And that selfless servant style of leadership and participation will allow you as a team to create a better story and a story quicker, okay? So let's give them some topics. This is the story about the time that these 2 fellas did what together? What's their story about? When they went on vacation together. Okay, great. And then how about these 2? What did they do together that you're dying to hear a story about? When they went disco dancing. Yeah, wonderful. And then how about Carolyn and Joseph? What did they do? When they ran a marathon. Good job, you guys, okay? So here's how it'll work. You'll talk for a little bit, or you'll talk for a little bit, and then you'll just casually go back and forth. You can just kind of hand the mic back and forth to each other. But I'd like you to start your dialogue every time it comes to you with the 2 words, yes and, okay? Try to get out of your analytical, critical minds. It's a made-up story, folks. So if someone says, yeah, remember when we went on vacation to Cancun? Just go to Cancun. There's no reason to say, actually, it was British Columbia, you're wrong. Okay? And you laugh, but that's what we tend to do in this. Even as improvisers, we will argue our point of view about something that doesn't exist and imaginary all day long. So let's first hear about the time you guys went on vacation together.
Go ahead.
This past September, Andrew and I went on a quick vacation with our families. We decided to take a flight out to Orlando to Disney World.
Perfect.
Yes, and Scott, it was so fun because my 6-year-old daughter loves Mickey and Minnie Mouse, and we're so excited to see Cinderella's castle.
But the boys, not so much. The boys didn't want to go see Cinderella. They decided to go to Magic Kingdom and ride all the roller coasters that they could find.
Yes, and the challenge that we had there was that the girls and the guys didn't exactly want to do the same thing. So the wives took the girls to see Cinderella, and then the guys went off and rode the high-powered roller coasters.
But one thing that we figured out real quickly is that it was extremely hot. So the boys decided to venture out and go to the water parks. So we went and got our swimsuits and journeyed to the water park.
Yes, and the funny thing that happened there was that during the wave pool, Scott's swim trunks got pulled off.
All right, give him a round of applause. We'll come back to that. Good job. So a couple of observations. Very, very good, very typical, okay? Do you notice how it's tough for us to just go along? We will find separation. One of the reasons I believe we will find separation is because that gives us a way to justify our jobs as fixers of separation. But it's imaginary story, so the weather can be perfect. The boys and girls can love the exact same thing. Everything that we can say in this silly exercise can be all right. Because it's not a goal of figuring out how to fix things. It's a goal of practicing the muscle of forwarding a story that doesn't exist with another human being. So remember to say yes and remember that for our purposes as listeners of your story, it's better for you to agree than to figure out what's wrong with the story. Because we'll always have this tendency. I still do it when I play this game. Oh yeah, but then this problem happened, so now I can come and fix it. How's it going? I'm the fixer. Okay? So now we're going to go disco dancing. Watch the back of the stage, dear. I don't want you to fall off there. And so let's hear the time about you went disco dancing, and please use yes and.
Well, last fall we went disco dancing on a brand new club that just opened in town, and it was a lot of fun. We start by trying to behave like John Travolta, and I think it was very fun because I started punching up and down, and then I almost fell down.
Great, yes and.
Yes, and remember, I didn't think I was a very good dancer at all, and you drugged me out on the floor and got me going and had me, and then they started the limbo contest.
Great.
And
yes, and dancing is not about being a good dancer. You just have to go there and do it, And I think, the limbo was fun. I almost fell down because, I can't go down too low. But you did a great job. I think, we had fun, and that's what's the main thing about it.
yes, and then remember they started those train dances, and we were dancing all over the floor and following each other, and you were leading the train up and down and around the tables. And then they started a karaoke contest.
Yes, and that's when I checked out because I can't sing.
All right, give a round of applause. We'll come back to them. So one of the reasons we like our exercise is it gives us permission to pretend that we're good at things that we're not. So you, for this, Luis, you can be great at karaoke. Your story could be, and then I was just the best ever. Notice how they did a great job of finding the next action point in the story. And then this happened, and this happened, and this happened. One of the tricks of improv is if we're so busy creating the next innovative moment, we don't have enough time to critique the last failure. We're just getting it done. And so keep forwarding it. Great, great job. So let's hear the time that you guys went, what did you do? Marathon. Great. This is a wonderful story. Go ahead and tell us.
I remember after that preparation, we went to run that marathon in the streets of Boston.
Yes, and I had never been to Boston before, so I got lost and was found 2 days later.
Yes, and I started running, and it was easier than I thought. Just started running, passing everybody. Me.
Yeah.
Well, I started running faster and faster, but the faster I ran, the more I got confused. So it even made me go farther away. Maybe it was 3 days before I got back.
Well then, but I found you. Remember, I directed you back, and we said, let's continue on the path, going down the street, and the TV camera saw both of us, remember? And we were on TV.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, I remember now. 557 people called me and said what an idiot I was because I was trying to follow somebody. I didn't know where I was going.
But we didn't know where we were going, but then we started singing. We're on TV now, American Idol, possibly. So we're running and singing.
And that's when my singing career started, and it was what it was all really about.
All right, great job. Give a round of applause. Go ahead and have a seat. We're running out of time. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. So, as an audience, did you see how good it felt when we finally took that singing career and just said yes to it? You know what I mean? We wanted you to do well at the marathon. We wanted to hear the next part of the story. And so when you said, that's when my singing career, you could feel the room going, hey, the story's moving forward. We're moving forward. So a silly little exercise, and I've played it a million times, but can you see how there has to be some grain of truth in that for some reason, by nature, we will want to find what's wrong with things. We want to get in an argument, and we want to take things in our point of view first, which is vital to lots and lots of what we do, for refinement, for creating systems. But in this silly little world of improv, and perhaps in this world of leading human beings to treat each other in a way that they're more apt to find the next innovative moment in their life, this ability to say yes and instead of no but in certain circumstances can really help. And for those of you who are courageous enough to participate, I'm watching them, and they're doing what every audience is going, oh my goodness, do they know that 60% of the sentences were not started with yes and? Do they know that 25% of the sentences were actually started with no? Do they know that the couples are in argument without even knowing it? Because we don't know it up here. But ask the folks who are watching you. That's what they always see, because that's what we always do. So it's vital for us to practice for a small part of our leadership days to further the story with the people that we're working with. Real quickly about change, it's kind of a fun story. So we're a small theater, and there was a quote from our book on 14 million Starbucks cups. We made a lot of money selling books. The reason that we have a quote on the Starbucks cup has nothing to do with strategy, plan, assets, or even kind of quality. It's mostly change and a little bit of luck. I was giving a speech at Microsoft, and the person who runs the visiting author series at Starbucks came and saw what we did, invited us to go to their visiting author series. About 60 days before I was supposed to speak at headquarters at Starbucks, the CFO or the CMO called and said, I'd like to introduce you, but I'm out of town. So he asked me to switch the date. I typed the wrong date in Outlook. A week before I'm supposed to speak to 600 people, I realize I'm double booked now because I can't type very well. I call and apologize. They moved my speech to the Monday because they were gracious. Instead of 600 people there to hear me, 6 showed up that day. I was so embarrassed, we kind of stopped all this and we had a conversation about innovation. One of the 6 human beings, his only full-time job is to decide what authors get to go on the Starbucks cups. He was out of town on all 4 of the other days that week. So people on the Starbucks cup have been Gandhi, Elvis Presley, Martin Luther King, and Fatty Van Won't Shut Up from Wisconsin, okay? The largest marketing and PR thing we've ever done in 52 years because of change and unbridled pity. Because he was like, oh my God, this guy's gonna start crying. You're on the cup, you're on the cup. Don't start drinking again, you're on the cup, it's all right. Kids are gonna go to a private school after all, okay? So ironically, the quote that they chose was about change. It says, the way I see it, 183, improvisers don't look at change as an obstacle, we look at it as fuel. We know that the next great idea comes just on the other side of change. So we're constantly asking ourselves, what can we do to incite change? So that's what we were talking about today, because I understood on that day that unless I can predict exactly what's going to happen after change, I better create a positive relationship with it. In general, we thought there was a couple of things about improv that you could take to your workplace, and we came at you with the same 3 points of view that we have today, or that we have at this moment. Humility. Thank you. This is an intimidating room to work. You are wonderfully successful, bright, insightful people. So for me to stand in front of you is an intimidating thing. So thank you for that. Thank you for being kind to me. Gratitude. Thank you for the business that you've already given us. Thank you for new business we're about to get. And energy. I'll just drink some more coffee. We can do it again. All right? Please bring that energy back to the wonderful people that you lead. It's been an honor being with you. Enjoy the rest of your day.